It all began with the American Civil War. 4 million slaves were freed, but the South was devastated. Its economy collapsed and it stopped exporting its white gold for a while. The rest of the world, deprived of king cotton, decided to go into production. And so cotton was introduced in Central Asia, under the rule of the Tsars. The Soviets continued the trend on a major scale, pursuing their ambitious plan. That regime also collapsed, but the new powers continued to ride the crest of ingrained propaganda. Cotton was king in Central Asia.
Cultivating cotton is seen as the main profitable sector in our economy, and lands for cotton growing must expand every year and productivity should be increased. This, in turn, will improve people's lives. Unless we pay the same attention to cultivating cotton as we did before, we will not be able to improve the living standards of our population. Our republic is an agrarian country, and therefore production of cotton should be continued in the future.
The message is clear and has a whiff of the Soviets. Land ownership is in the hands of the state and dedicated to cotton. Privatization of the collective farms has so far been slow and complicated. The state, unwilling to change the system but aware of the country's food shortages, is trying to turn the situation around by making some small plots available exclusively for agricultural products. Known as presidential lands, they are on loan to farmers for 2 years. Abdughafor Naimov is one of the lucky few. He grows rice on this presidential land, along with 2 other farmers.
It's better to grow cotton, but without assistance it's difficult to do it. We need fertilizers, organic and mineral, and we can't afford them. We have to grow other agricultural products. Perhaps it's better to grow cotton because it's a national treasure for our country. But since we cannot afford it, we grow other products for which we have our own fertilizers.
Abdughafor has decided to stop producing rice as it consumes too much water and will concentrate on carrots and potatoes instead. But rice is also a luxury item and pays well on the market. Abdughafor earns approximately $170 a year from the 350 kilograms of rice he produces here. He sells half of it at the market, preferably in summer when the prices go up. The rest he keeps for his family's needs. After a 5-year-long civil war and repeated droughts, food shortages are endemic in Tajikistan, and the spectre of famine is ever present in people's minds. Abdughafor complains of the difficult living conditions, but at least he says he can feed his family for the next 2 years. Tajikistan, the smallest and the poorest of the Central Asian republics, is mountainous, and only 5% of its land is arable. 80% of that is dedicated to cotton. Women, children, students, everybody contributes to the success of the plan. These medical college students have to miss class in order to pick cotton.
We're brought here because the province has not reached the objectives in its plan. It's not difficult. We've been doing it for 8 days and will continue until we finish the month. We pick it until 2 o'clock and then we go home.
Do you earn any money?
Yes, 10 dirhams for each kilo of cotton picked.
The students can pick a maximum of 10 kilos in a day, for which they are paid a pittance, a total of 35 US cents a day. Cotton hangs like a dark cloud over people's heads. Collective farms which fail to produce the quota resort to peeling closed buds. It's illegal, it yields poor quality cotton, but the wet fibre fills the void left by the missing kilos. In the fields, women and children do most of the hard work. It's backbreaking and the rewards are minimal. A cotton picker earns an average of $10 a year. So where do the benefits of the industry go? The Beparaston ginnery in Kuliab belongs to a former general who has kept close ties with the authorities in power. He lives in Moscow and owns 75% of the shares in this plant. This is where the region's collective farms bring their cotton for processing and sale, but the transaction is somewhat convoluted.
The processing fee for 1 ton of raw cotton is $130. If a collective farm is unable to pay this amount in cash every month, we take the accumulated amounts in the form of products that we produce from their cotton. Our investor has an agreement with the National Bank of Tajikistan. The National Bank provides loans to the investor in order to provide collective farms with fuel and fertilizers, including some equipment to our ginnery, such as wires, motors and spare parts. This loan is paid back in the form of cotton fibre from our ginnery and from other collective farms.
During the Soviet era, the state supplied buyers, but since its collapse, a new breed of investors has appeared. The Tajiks commonly call them future skis. They are the middlemen for international cotton buying companies. The investors take credits from the banks and loan to farmers at 36 to 40% interest rates against agro inputs and future sales of cotton. The prices of the inputs are inflated while the cotton price is reduced. The profits are big and the state gets 10% of them. But the farmer never gets his hands on the cash. In fact, he finds himself in debt. Once the processing fees are paid in cotton, little is left. The farmer gets paid in seeds so that he can plant the next season's crop of national treasure.